Alright, let's try this again. Sound should be much better this time. So this is the SEC Block 1 preview. And you're going to start looking at the polls here. And I will make an announcement on the message board with the forums about how we're going to do this pick'em thing here. But it's probably going to be the same way that I did it last season. I'm going to rate the games on kind of based on how I believe it will play out, like which games are harder to choose, those will be worth more points, and we'll do it that way. So positive if you get it right, negative if you get it wrong, and see who has the highest score or the least negative score. That doesn't make sense, but whatever. Anyway, back to the top 25. So as I kind of noted in the open forum, I mean, I definitely had quite a few SEC guys in my poll myself. Not that I'm biased or anything, but I was not expecting to have 6 in the top 11. So that should be very interesting to see how it plays out. Feel sorry for the out of conference guys because the SEC is still generally a pretty fast team, or a fast group of teams. So that is always a nightmare having to play from the other side. We'll see how that plays out when SEC play starts, but I think you guys will do pretty good out of conference. So kind of looking back here, Bama should and is number one. Really don't see any disputing that. The defending champ, a better team. Got Florida coming in at 2 and 3 on the media poll. And then South Carolina, Georgia. Oh man, it just doesn't stop. Arkansas. It's just a lot of good teams, a lot of talent, a lot of different team types. And then one thing also that I did want to note too, in Texas A&M, I know they're down near the bottom on both. We'll see how Johnny Football does this year, but still, I mean, Tennessee got votes, Kentucky got votes, Vanderbilt got votes. I'm pretty positive Mississippi State got votes. It's just Mississippi. I mean, Ole Miss. I wonder how many will be ranked by the end of the season. We'll see that. I'm curious to see. You guys are going to really be beating up on each other here. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my top 25. I probably won't do this too often because I don't like to be criticized either. I'd rather be criticized once at the end of the season, not all season. But this was my top 25. Preseason's hard, so got Bam at 1, VT at 2. I mean, you really can't argue with that. I could see why people had Florida at 2. But me, VT was a runner-up, so he gets to hold that position. Florida at 3. Had Arkansas at 7. Georgia, South Carolina up there. I'm thinking altogether I had 6. So, we'll see, like I said, we'll see how it plays out. It'll be a lot of fun here. We're going to go ahead and move into week 1. So, starting at the bottom, we got Arkansas hosting ULL, and it's going to be a mismatch. They have Arkansas's better offensive line, a monster offensive line. Tight ends are going to be mismatched against the linebackers. Though they have fast corners, it's just they're going to have a hard time stopping the run. It is what it is. Next up, you got Mizzou at Georgia State. Georgia State has 6 players with a rating of 70 or above. That's all that needs to be said about this game. Too much speed, too much speed. Next, Bama at Kansas. Out of conference rivalry here. 2 of our popular Call of Duty guys here, Beefy and Bama fan. It's the same thing. Kansas is weak up front. They're just going to be able to enforce their will and run the ball, and pretty much that's just how that game is going to play out. Mississippi State hosting Northern Illinois. Perkins. Though Northern Illinois has a pretty fast secondary, they're actually really good for their ratings, so may have issues passing the ball, but they're going to have a hard time stopping Perkins. They just don't have the size up front to contend. Next, we've got Auburn hosting Minnesota. Auburn is my dark horse. As I said, I'm not saying they're going to win, but I expect them to do very well. Very fast defense, and though they're going to run the ball well, I have my eyes on Reed and Bray. At some point, they're going to be able to hit big plays because you're going to have to sell out to stop the run because they have all kind of options there. Next, LSU at Georgia Tech. These 2 played last season, And LSU, well, Block then had Colorado State. John had Florida National, and John won on a last-second field goal to start his very good season at FIU. So Georgia Tech, don't underestimate them. They are very fast. They have fast backs, fast quarterbacks, not just one. So knocking out the quarterback really doesn't stop the option, and John runs it well. So this is a matchup that I still think LSU has the more talented team. Well, they definitely do. But Georgia Tech's run game is going to be really, really difficult to deal with, even with how good LSU's defense is. All right, so we're moving into the top three. Try to keep everyone rotated in here throughout the season, as you'll get the extra nice stuff here. But I got Okie State and Tennessee. So last season, there was a 2010 win for Super Jake, and the season before, Wasted beat him. So the keys to this game, definitely, Couch and McCullers will have to get pressure up front. One, to stop the running and get in the face of Shelf, because he is a dual threat quarterback on the Cowboys side, and Cowboys. Whatever. I'm tired, so apologize. But yeah, Okie State, they can spread out the field because they have fast receivers, make it really tough. So they're going to have to generate pressure up front, collapse the pocket, and they're going to have to tackle well on the edges. Can't afford a lot of broken tackles because you can't give up big plays. Tennessee should be able to get Neal involved as well to help kind of balance out their attack, but definitely the defense has their work cut out for them. Number two, Ole Miss and Vandy. Ole Miss won last season on a field goal, and these are two good coaches to beat. And Penguin, so Vandy is a little bit more of a traditional team, so I look for Matthews to get very involved, have a good season in general, and that's why I had him as All-American. But I expect him to really get going early here. You got to have good quarterback play from Vanderbilt's side. They still will be able to run the ball. It's a little more of a power running game. But as Matthews go, this team will go, because it should open up other options there on offense. On the Ole Miss side, option play, it's going to be a recurring theme for them. They really have a team that's well versed to run the option, whether it's power, speed, triple, pretty whatever they want to do, misdirection. They have all kind of options. There's so much speed on that offense. But also going to look at the secondary. They're fast, but are they going to be able to generate stops? Are they going to be able to generate stops against Vanderbilt and be able to keep running the ball and not get behind? Because no matter how good you're playing, you get behind early, that kind of changes things. And they're really going to have to keep the run game active if they're going to want to have a lot of success here. So I'm curious to see how this game plays out. I'm not picking anybody in this one. I'm just going to sit back and watch as a fan. And the game of the week for week 1. Johnny Football hosting Gardner and Michigan. So the 12th man here definitely play a factor. Two ranked teams in this one, 21 and 22. So odds are someone's not going to be ranked at the end of this block. We will see who that is. And while I'm thinking about that too, Johnny is I know I played him a couple of times. I'm not really sure how he plays, so still, to me at least, kind of what to expect. He has really, really good user skills as a linebacker, and I'm not just saying that for the pass, I'm saying that for the run from past experience. So we'll see how he does against the option. It's a little bit different than just the typical run, standard run offense, pro style. But if he's able to control that and limit what can be done, that's going to change the dynamic of the game there. On the Texas A&M side, definitely get Johnny Football out on the edges. Got good tight end there, both teams do. So really it comes down to which linebacker core will play better and which quarterback will be more of a headache to open up other holes in the defense. Moving to week 2, starting with Bama and Duke. Crows and Bama fan rival as well. Duke just doesn't have the speed. They're overmatched. And I just look for, really, they should be able to run the ball well, but I look for AJ to really have a good game here because the corners are very, very slow. Next up, Tennessee at Georgia State. Kind of the same thing. Pretty much, no offense to EA Sports Man, I like him. He's a good guy. It's just a mismatch. Neal, whatever quarterback Tennessee wants to use, probably could play one for each half, test him out. it's going to be one of those kind of games the offense really should be able to get clicking early. And we got Buffalo at LSU. Buffalo does have speed, so got to be careful of that on with their offense. But the patchwork offensive line, are they going to be able to hold up to the pass rush of the Tigers? Not sure. But Beckham has playing against a weak set of corners, should be able to wreak some havoc. Got Oregon and Ole Miss. Last season, Ole Miss pulled off the upset, and that kind of started 6 feet. Disappointing season, I guess we'll say, but the revenge factor, I'm sure, will play a big factor here, and it's kind of a question mark. They both run the option, so who's going to be able to limit the big plays more? Will Thomas just run wild, or will Ole Miss be able to run the ball successfully throughout the whole game and keep it to a fourth quarter game and put the pressure on Oregon? Iowa at Missouri. Iowa's going to have to run ball control, though they have a very dangerous set of tight ends, but it's just one of those things. It's a mismatch still. Mizzou can take advantage of the slow safeties. The offensive line really is going to be able to dominate. And if they can dominate up the middle, Iowa's strength, that's going to really kill those linebackers because they're going to be engaged in blocks and take away their awareness. And speed factors. Auburn and Georgia Tech, all I have to say is running shootout. They both run well, and they score a lot of points. So I expect the same. Got UNC and Arkansas next. UNC, you got Blue and Morris, a mixture of power and speed. Got to protect the ball from the passing perspective because plays will be available there to be had. Arkansas, got to get an early lead and force UNC to go away, take Morris and Blue's ability to impact the game away. And got to generate pressure with the front four if you can do that. Getting up early and forcing the pass, and you're going to need those full 7 back in coverage because Oracle will spread the ball around. He does that pretty well, especially from what I've seen in Madden. And then game number 3, UK at KU, Kentucky at Kansas. 2 OOTP regulars here, J-Sense and Beefy. Beefy's leading our division. I'm going to give a shout out to him for doing well with that. Probably is going to win too. He's the only one with a winning record, I believe. I believe this will be a shootout. At first, I was thinking it'd be a low-scoring game, but I think it'll be a shootout. They both have questions at quarterback. Both have good receiving cores, or good enough receiving cores, where they'll be able to spread it around. But from Kentucky's perspective, I'm thinking they're going to have to tackle well. Williamson and Cobble are going to have to leave their imprint on the game and really maybe not force turnovers, but get into 3rd and long situations and get off the field. That's going to be a big key in this game. Number 2, another SEC matchup and a really big one to start out the year. You've got South Carolina and Georgia. And, this was number 1 and 2 predicted by you guys in the SEC East, so really this game could end up deciding the division at the beginning of the season. So who's played the game more, who's more comfortable, who's found something that could possibly work on defense. This is not as bad as people have said, but definitely difficult to do. But who will make the mistakes? Who will be able to take advantage of turnovers? From the Georgia perspective, you got Murray. All rights, could be an All-American himself, and that was my 2B guy. He's got to be judicious with the ball, be accurate, make good throws, good reads. Can't turn the ball over. And Gurley is going to have to get going in the run game. Georgia really has a speed advantage, but South Carolina still will be able to impose their will. I mean, Clowney, I'm sure, we moved around some, can impact the game. Shaw can impact the game with his feet as well as with his arm. And they have a good stable of backs there, so it's going to be really difficult. But I think in this game, Ellington's going to be the X factor altogether. The fastest receiver with the Gamecocks, and if he gets going, that's going to open up some other things and cause trouble for Georgia. But I'm just going to go ahead and leave it, sit on the fence on that one too, and see what happens. And then lastly, VT at UF, Virginia Tech of Florida. So, 2 and 3 respectively in flip-flop in both polls. So a very big matchup here, and title contention could be ruined right out the gates, possibly. Obviously, VT runs the ball well, plays good defense, and he has a nice stable of backs, a mobile quarterback in Thomas, and he plays corner, something unique that you don't see a lot in the NDL. So from Florida side, will Driscoll be able to take advantage of that when opportunities present itself, and also will big plays be able to be had, being able, because yeah, with the option you'll have to stay home a little bit more as corner. You won't be able to drop back as quick, so that could change as well. A lot going on in that game. Florida's not as fast as they usually are. Still very fast, but just not the speed that we're used to. So we'll see how that game ends up playing out. But I think it'll be a pretty low scoring game, truth be told. So this is what I've got for block one. Really all I got. Don't have anything else to say. I'll post something else along with this post on the board, but this is what I got. So I will see you guys next time.